totally different time. You get it. Those days your mother would just give you an eye and you know this is a problem.
Hey, there are visitors.
And it's just there are visitors
and
around.
Mom gives you this eye, you know?
Yes.
Catch more of this every Monday to Friday at 9 p.m.
A very good evening to you, esteemed viewer. Welcome to Family Hour. Here we are. This is our Tuesday edition. Edwin Austin Mukalazi is my name. I know a lot is happening in the world. We condole with the family of the fallen minister, Sarah Mateke, but also very many other people who have lost loved ones, those who have loved ones who are sick in hospitals. We pray that God's healing hand shall be raised unto you, and you shall be healed in Jesus' name. But also, we celebrate with those who have a lot of victories to celebrate the life and all the other victories that you have reached at. We congratulate you. Here we are talking about something very, very pertinent. Of course, every Tuesday we talk about health. Now, we have a public health threat in especially in the cities currently. Of course, we know that we are just healing from the Chitezi incident, but up to now, we do not have a permanent solution, a sustainable solution that has been given to us by the authorities, especially when it gets to waste management, and that is really absurd. Of course, they have promised us a lot, energy and what, but remember, this waste is generated from our homes, is generated from our shops, is generated from our work spaces. It doesn't fall from anywhere. If you find that particular street full of garbage deposits, just know that you are part of the reason part of the reasons as to why that garbage is there. Now, we want to look at the sustainable waste management solutions, starting from our homes, our workplaces, so that when we accuse the authorities, we can say that we have done our part. It's them that have failed to support. So with us is Barnabas. Barnabas has been here before. He's a public health specialist, and we are delighted to have him with us. It's a pleasure having you once again.
It's a pleasure to be here today. Let me first take this opportunity to greet our viewers.
Yes, yes.
I also add a voice to many Ugandans that have extended their sincere condolences to the families that lost their loved ones, to the Chitezi tragedy, in reference to the subject that we to discuss today. People who lost their lives, may the souls of our fellow Ugandans who died less than eternity.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a while, but
sure.
We have you. This is a timely moment where we have you. And you know, when we talk about garbage and waste management, people don't see the element of health in it. So someone says, this has no relationship with health. Of course, someone might be wondering, today, every Tuesday you talk about health, but now you're talking about waste management. Let us first relate waste management with health, and then we shall get into the discussion.
One, our people should first understand what health is to what the waste is, such that we can draw a correlation between the two, answering the question. One, a waste is something that has no use to the person who has brought it. In simple language, you see, if you get something and you feel like you're done to use it to its intended purpose, it becomes a waste. Then the way how you manage this might actually impact directly on your health or to that of the environment. And that takes us to what the environment is. Because we've seen that many people exclude themselves from the environment. Many think that the environment is only physical, then forgetting themselves. Yeah, people think that our environment are trees, environment are lakes, water bodies, environment is land, and they exclude themselves. So environment encompasses things that surrounding us. The flora and the fauna, even we inclusive. So drawing back to the question, how does health relate with the West?
Yes.
You should agree with me that the way how you manage a waste, as I've told you, impact on my health. Look at what happened to Chitezi. People dumping waste, we shall in detail explain, but you see people merely dumping a waste. This waste, in the due course, if it's anorganic, it is going to die, to decompose. If it decomposes, the microbial activity, the microbial biochemistry that undergoes its degeneration releases substances. Say, the toxic gases like hydrogen sulfide gas. This gas that usually comes out of the waste. And that gas that brings out the rotten smell. This gas pollutes the air. Other gases like sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, methane, they are coming from a waste that is decomposing. They pollute the air. What happens? The air quality decreases. What happens? Someone is going to inhale this decongested air, this contaminated air. What will happen? Respiratory diseases. What will happen? Gastrointestinal diseases. That is one of the impacts. That's how we can relate the waste and health. But two, during the composition of these wastes, we're seeing toxic liquids being produced. Toxic liquids, we call them leachate. This leachate seep down to the ground, and actually this toxic liquid contaminate the ground water. So take an instance at a dumping site X, wastes are disintegrating, releasing leachate. Leachate is going and it's seeping down to the groundwater. It's contaminating the groundwater sources. What will happen? Water pollution. What happens when someone goes and takes up this water from an open water source or closed water source, be a wellspring? That is someone is taking polluted water. In the end, what will this person have? This person will have diseases. So are you seeing how a waste relates with health? Yeah, that is how important this topic is.
Indeed, I realize that it is actually very pertinent because it is a timely topic. Because truth is, this is the talk of town. Some people on X were even proposing to start a garbage exhibition. And I think this is not the solution. Even when we have the exhibitions, as long as we do not address the problem from its roots, then the exhibitions might not help as well. So you talked about the types of waste. Can we take up that? Because for us, we think waste is waste. And
right, actually, thank you for bringing that up. Because us knowing types of waste, we shall know how we can manage them.
Exactly, the various types.
Types of waste are categorized according, one, to the source. Where is this waste coming from? Is it from the household? Then that's domestic. Is it from commercial business? Then that's commercial. Is it from industries? Then that's industrial. That is classification by source. But we also have a classification by safety levels. Is it from hazardous safety level? Because that is more of biochemistry and what. But at safety levels, does this hazard potentially cause harm to health? Then that's hazardous. This waste, is it not causing harm? Then that's non-hazardous. But we also have classification by properties. There are biological properties. Is this waste biodegradable? Can it decompose? Then that's a biodegradable waste. Say garbage, because garbage is animal or plant refuse. Can this waste not biodegrade? Then that's non-biodegradable. So those are various types of waste vis-a-vis the source, vis-a-vis the property, vis-a-vis the biosafety levels. That's one of the way how we can actually categorize the waste.
So we have a layman who is watching us. You're talking about properties, but how shall I ever know that this particular waste has this property? Or can you make it a little simpler so that I can know that when I see, for example, this and this and this, then I know that this falls under hazardous or non-hazardous category?
Well, let's
some examples.
Let's take the more clearer waste that are being generated.
Yes.
Because I think if we go in deep, we might confuse our populace that is viewing us. The most common is the garbage. Those are agricultural wastes. Because every home consumes the food. Every home might be rearing animals, right? Every home might be peeling food, sematoke. Every home might be using banana leaves to cover up the food. So these are the most common wastes, because the raw materials of these wastes are actually are the ones that are mostly used things in our day-to-day lives. But we also have processed products, say polythene, say plastics, say straws, say worn out objects like the chairs. I'm done, I feel like I've brought this chair, it has broken down, now I feel like throwing it up. So I think you can now correlate. So I think that showing that, it can really show a picture of what waste is in what category.
We have things that, for example, syringes that are used in the hospitals. Oftentimes you find children playing with them, they put in water and then sprinkle it out. So they use them as playing objects. In which category those fall?
Actually, those are medical wastes.
Okay.
By source. They are from medical facilities. Then that takes them to medical waste. And as I've told you, these categories actually tells us what is the right way how to manage them. Say the agricultural wastes. Agricultural wastes are always biodegradable wastes, right? It means that they can decay, mostly the garbage, right? So how can we manage? How can we treat these organic waste, the biodegradable waste? One, there is a method we call it composting. Composting merely means biological decay. Composting means just because we have different types of composting, by the way. There is aerobic composting, anaerobic composting, and vermicomposting. But aerobic composting means you're having your garbage there, leave it there, microorganisms will handle on it, then it will decay. You'll get fertilizers. You'll use them.
Is it like, for example, when you have food that you left on the plate, then you throw it in the garden, then after some time you realize you can't see it again. After a day or two, you'll find some layer on it. Then after some time, you don't see it again.
Actually, that is it.
Okay.
That is the aerobic composting. You've left this organic matter under aeration conditions. Now microorganisms have worked upon it. Then later on you'll get fertilizers. That is aerobic.
Then we have a category of people, especially people who are within cities and towns. For us, what we do, if food is left on the plate, you gather it together and put it in a polythene, then put it in your rubbish bin.
Actually, that takes us to a point, sorry to divert you here and there, that takes us to a point of sorting waste, because that is the major primary cause of everything that you see.
Okay.
Many of our people don't know what to do, when and how, right?
That's very important, and I think a few people know this, know about sorting. and I think a few would even spare their time to sort because they don't even know why they should spend time sorting. It's looked at as a luxurious thing.
I can tell you, you see, Mr. Moderator, the most important stage in waste management is sorting at source.
Okay.
Because
pick it up from there.
if you don't sort, if you just mix organic, if you just mix garbage with the plastics, with the polythene, you're going to cause a confusion even at disposal site. We might have an opportunity of even reusing some of the components that you're disposing, but because you've just mingled them together, you might not separate them easily, and you might not get an opportunity of reusing. So, most of drawing back to our topic, one of the major ways, one of the main procedures of sustainable solid waste management is sorting at source.
Okay.
And actually, these people who usually come and take the waste should also know how to sort at disposal site. Because as I've told you, I was mentioning various methods of waste treatment or waste management. And I told you we have composting. But composting only goes for those wastes that can biodegrade. Say garbage. But plastic cannot biodegrade. So if you cannot sort them right, just know you are messing up things. You're going to end up piling up mountains of waste. And what you saw at Chitezi, really you would be a main cause of other things to happen. So one of the importance of sorting, and our people should know, because it's a sustainable measure, they give us a chance to recover some of these things that actually might have disposed, yet they still have a use.
Sorting.
So
how do I sort? Because that is really very important. Someone would really want, what do I sort? What do I put where? And all that.
Okay. If you are at home, that is domestic,
yes.
You should know that let this polythene be taking plastics. Let this polythene be having organic. Let this polythene be having another category of waste, such that at least we can minimize the risks of disease contamination. We can get chances of recovering some things. We can get chances of even getting fertilizers from organic waste, so on and so forth.
Okay. So I have sorted my waste.
Yes.
I have plastic bottles and all that. Then there is somewhere I put my polythene. Should I put polythenes and plastics together?
That is
polythene bags and that.
Polythene. These polythene plastics, you might put them once
In the same.
in the same, because we also have to look at the source implication of sorting. Yes, we're doing these things, but we also need to see how does it end into the one's pocket. But polythene plastics, okay, if you cannot separate.
Okay.
Then combining plastics, polythene and organic materials like food.
Then I think the problem now comes when I've sorted it right, but now because in some places, especially in cities, you realize that there are companies that have been hired to pick. They have, and you see KCCA has also come up with, for Kampala, they've also come up with rubbish bins that we used to see days ago. They have brought them back as one of the solutions. So in now taking my waste to this center, the collecting center, how do I gauge if they have not, how do I sort if they have not given me a provision that maybe plastics should be put here and then these other organics should be put here, biodegradables? Okay,
one, let me first applaud the efforts by KCCA to prohibit open dumping. Because actually them installing bins such that people can dumping waste. They are helping us people, the public, not to open dump. Because we've seen, I will draw back to the question, we've seen the major challenges of open dumping. Our people just don't take conscious of the habit of right way of dumping waste.
I'm saying that I take water, and then I throw the plastic bottle through the...
And actually that is doing us a disservice. And this needs us a patriotic heart, that this Uganda is ours. We shouldn't exclude ourselves from the environment. Because at the end of the time, if we open dump, this plastic that you've opened dump, it is going to choke the water drainage. And it will take KCCA or any other local government monies to maintain this choked water drainage.
But also the lives.
And
when the roads flood and people die and all that, and the inconvenience.
Look at that. And actually, these monies that KCC or other local government will use will be the property tax or the local service tax that actually the individual are paying.
So you'll have to pay the price.
Don't you see? Indirectly, you're paying the price because of open what? So it is not environmental friendly, and that's why I applaud KCC for the act. But back to the...
Let's first take a short commercial break. When we return, we are going to start from that question as we expound on it. Kindly stick with us as we come back.
When you are sealed in the Lord, the devil looks at you and you are glittering. The devil locates a crown. For any person that the devil locates with a crown, the devil will never eat them because they belong to the Most High.
Friends, don't you give up in any form of hardship. Don't you give up, for Jesus encourages us and says, even at the point of losing your life, for the sake of Christ and the gospel, it is okay.
My dear brothers and sisters, let us remember that God is still reigning on his throne in heaven above. And let us trust in him. Let us rely on him. Let us pray each and every time. Let us not give up on showing ourselves out into the world that the Lord Jesus Christ is still king and he still reigns.
You and I are here to reign on the earth, not to complain, not to grumble, not to play victim, not to quarrel, but to reign on the earth.
I pray, Father, that you will release the fourth man to destroy every fire, to protect your people who are in every furnace and set them free in the name of Jesus.
Welcome back from the break. We are looking at sustainable waste management solutions because I believe this is what we need. You might say that is for the people in the city, for us in the village, but let me tell you, the rate at which towns are growing is alarming. So before you know, it is in Kampala, it is in Chitezi, but now they are coming to Dundu in Mukono. Then there is in Kumba. Now that is within Kampala metropolitan. Even you in Masaka, you already have a city, and this is one of the problems that have been raised. That much as Masaka is a city, but they are still struggling with waste management. It is the same story with Mbale, same story with Gulu, and very many other cities. So we are looking at sustainable solutions. Probably when you pick up something, you can go back to the community and support your community. So that, remember, if you do not manage your waste very well, if you manage your waste well and your neighbor doesn't, you will share the effects. So don't sit on the knowledge you have. Don't say, for me, I'm doing the right thing. If your neighbor is still doing the wrong thing, you will both share the effects. Now, after getting the right knowledge, share it with your neighbor. Good enough as our show is live on YouTube, is you can always watch, share with your neighbors, share with those people you want to watch and learn out of this experience. So before the break, there is something you were trying to explain. How do I sort at the point of depositing of?
Okay. One, as I've told you, that disposal is actually the last resort in sustainable solid waste management.
I thought I sought to dispose of.
No, actually, let me first take you back. There is what we call the integrated solid waste management.
Yes.
ILAC. This was designed by UN Environmental Department. That is as follows. One, if you cannot reduce, that is the first priority in this ILAC. Reduce at source. Reduce this waste generation at what?
At source.
Why do you buy things that you will not use? Look at that. If you cannot reduce at source, then the use. Why are you disposing something that is still, that you can still use? Look at that.
Yes.
So if you cannot reuse, recycle. Then recycling is an institutional arrangement. You cannot do it at a personal level. That's why then we empower our local government, central government, to bring in recycling plants such that this waste can be recycled and be reused. Because when you recycle, you recover. Look at that.
Yes.
Then dispose if you cannot follow everything as I've mentioned it.
Now, we first things first.
Yeah.
You said reduce.
Reduce.
How do I reduce?
How do you reduce?
And what does this reducing imply? For instance,
Yes.
Someone might pick it in a way that if I've been buying maybe 3 plastic bottles
Yes.
of water,
Yes.
this time I'll buy 2. I'm reducing. Is that what it
That is
meant?
what, surely that is it.
Okay.
Because remember, as I defined the waste, something that you feel like has served its intended purpose and it no longer has a what? But prior it had a use. Then why should you purchase things that you think might not have a use? Because if you do, you're increasing the rate, you're increasing the volumes of waste. Look at that. So if you cannot reduce, you reuse. If you cannot reuse, recycle. If you cannot recycle, or if you've recycled, recover. Because recycling, the major sole purpose is to recover. If you cannot do that, then you dispose. So disposal is the last resort.
There is something we see, especially on polythene bags.
Yes.
Those that are branded.
Yes.
You find somewhere where they use reuse.
Yeah.
But you cannot reuse it forever. You
Yeah.
reuse it for some time and it will still wear out.
Yeah.
What do I do with it?
If actually you've reused it and it has worn out, then that's a recycling method has to come in. But as I've told you, recycling is not an individual effort. Because recycling needs other modalities. Then that's an institutional it needs systems that are developed by local governments or by the central government to help individuals in recycling.
There are things that have come up about open burning, where people, environmentalists have come up to say that this is one of the reasons that we are suffering from air pollution. But you realize that very many communities think, or very many people think that the easiest way to get rid of this waste is by burning. For example, the plastics and polythenes and what that category, you put them somewhere in a corner in your courtyard, you set them on fire, and then is that also a sustainable solution?
You see, open burning, it is not right. Let me repeat it. Open burning is not right, because you see, if you open burn, you're releasing sulfur dioxins to the atmosphere. Sulfur dioxin compounds distort the ozone layer like nothing. This will leave our world, our climate at stake. Look at that. What should be done? Because as I was telling you, that some wastes cannot decay, cannot compose. We have other modern methods, like what we call thermotechnologies. Look at that. These are waste to energy methods. Examples, take incineration. Incineration means burning in a controllable manner. If you incinerate a waste, agree with me, you're reducing its volume almost by 90%. But you're going to get other uses like energy, say heat, that you can use in other ways. Look at that. So open burning is not right, because as I've told you the disadvantages of it, we should opt for incineration. But as a person, I cannot procure an incinerator. Then that's an institutional arrangement. As I've told you that some of sustainable solutions are administrative arrangements that should be done by administrative offices.
Maybe we can come up as in the community, we are 4 people. Doesn't it work if we raise funds and then we say we're establishing one to be used by the 4 homes?
Actually, that is it, because it can be, because we have an arrangement of private public partnerships. That is legally okay, that you can come up with an idea, you share with the local authorities, then later on you move the idea to realization. That is very okay. But how can we have this? We can have this when the community participates. Look at that. So this should be taken, waste management should be taken in priority. That is, you see, the major challenge we have, which actually eventually led to the Chitezi tragedy, is that the community participation in waste management is low, and also the priority. I shouldn't blame, because this is not a blame topic. Though some people should take responsibility, but we saw some negligence in the Chitezi tragedy. Agree with me, because as you know, that Chitezi was gazetted a dumping site in 1996. That was for Kampala. Then Kampala had a population of 1 million, transient and permanent. Later on in 2001, Chitezi was officially gazetted as a sanitary landfill, because not all dumping sites are sanitary landfills, because there is a criteria for a dumping site or a disposal site to become a sanitary landfill. But by 2008, it had reached its maximum capacity, and the reports are there indicating so. Officially in 2015, it had to be closed off. Look at that. In July 2nd, a report by a memo by the Directorate of Environment and Public Health, KCCA, notified the authorities that, look, if you don't take immediate action, Chitezi might bomb up. That was July. 10th August, it occurred. Look at that. So what do I mean? That we need community participation. We shouldn't leave this at administrative level. If you see something that is not right in waste management, you should voice it out. As a community, you should have a voice. And later on, I know policymakers, administrators will take action.
You talked about incinerations, and are there any other forms that we can that we can use? For other using waste for other purposes, but also other solutions that can support in waste management, especially at a domestic level, because we feel so much for this person who is stuck with their waste. They don't know what to do next. I was telling people that for almost a week we were struggling with waste, where people used to dump away the waste somewhere, and then this vehicle would come, the KCCA vehicle would come, pick the waste, but now for a full week the vehicle is nowhere to be seen. So people keep on bringing the waste every day, and before you know, the whole road is closed off. And until when we have to make outcries for KCCA to come. But I also look at this as a threat, especially for our lives. I just imagine if there is an outbreak of cholera, and what might happen to all of us in the community. So, but all this doesn't come from one homestead.
Yes.
It comes from very many homesteads around. So, domestically, how can people manage their waste?
Domestically, one, as I told you, the aerobic composting that can get up fertilizers, but there are some communities where you cannot leave things to decay. Like Kampala. What should we do on individual or community level?
Yes.
We have the anaerobic composting, which we call biomethanation. You can make an arrangement as a community for organic waste, the agricultural waste. You can make an arrangement such that you can you build up biodigesters to get the methane, which you can actually use as the biogas. Look at that.
Yes.
So I think our people should know that yes, there might be companies or authorities taking up the waste, but as a community, we can do something. You look at that. And the other point I talked about, the reduction on individual level. Reduction, the use and sorting, they are too important. Because if I reduce the waste, the volume of waste, it means that you're going to reduce, the other is going to reduce, the volumes will be low. Agree with me, the volumes of the community will be what?
Low.
As we're waiting for authorities to take control.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is also very important. Actually, you talked about biogas, and I think one of the things that people were saying, they were like, some Indian came and then they were trying to get gas out of this, and then because the whole thing busted as a bomb, and then
let me make the point clear. You see, we should let our communities know that, as I told you, the microbial activity that takes place when organic waste is decomposing, there is methane. Methane is highly flammable. Methane is highly flammable, and actually it explodes. So the narration is that a Chinese came and bombed the mountain of waste, that was methane. Look at the heap of the waste, and methane every time then and then it is being generated, and it's a highly flammable gas. It explodes. What you saw the other time, it had to happen because methane was much. So that notion of the Chinese, I wasn't right.
I remember the minister saying, "For us, we don't know about that."
No. And actually, people should know this information, because one time I also saw a leader mentioning it, and I was like, no, this should be known. That methane,
I think it was also hoodwinked by the locals and their explanations, and because maybe he didn't have this public health knowledge, so he was gullible enough to take the information.
Maybe.
But I was talking about biogas, and one of the things people fear about biogas there are a lot of myths about biogas, where someone says you can't control it and all those things. But what are the, besides using biogas for cooking, what else can people use biogas for? Because someone will say, now, if we choose to get biogas out of our waste for only cooking, won't that biogas at one time burst and burn the entire village?
Actually, biogas has many uses if prepared, if in an arrangement that is okay.
Oh,
Cooking one of them, but also the lighting. That energy, look at that, and actually why people should go for it, because it's a renewable energy. It provides that electricity which is not hydro. Look at that, which is not solar, which is not hydro, and people can be there with the electricity.
okay.
Isn't it good?
Very good.
Yeah.
So does it mean that every now and then I have to add in the wastes, all what I put there to get the gas is enough? The gas will always be there out of this waste.
I don't know, you should, as I have told you, methane is always generated whenever decomposition occurs. So the more you add up organic waste, the more methane will be generated and the more biogas you'll get.
Doesn't that cause a threat to me, the user, that I have a lot, I'm generating a lot of methane, but the consumption is low? Isn't that a threat also?
It can't be a threat, because being that you can initiate it as a community initiative, I might be using, you might be using, the other neighbor might be using, such that we can have utilization ratios at constants that can't cause harm to us.
That is for communities
that is for communities,
perhaps can pick up that. Now, people like in the community I'm talking about, because you realize these days actually people have a habit when they no longer throw away food. They collect the food, give it to dogs and cats, and that is, I think, one of the ways. But in the community like that, where someone has a full sack of diapers, another has a full sack of sanitary towels, and then they all mix them together and throw them there. When it rains, you just don't have to pass there, and this happens in very many places. Or what some do is getting rid of this whole drama of waste. They find the nearest drench. When it rains, in the drench, they move on, they go away with it. And
you see, as I told you, we should be patriots.
Okay.
If you don't spare the environment will never spare you.
Oh.
Look at that. If you merely just
So it is
dump,
a tit for tat.
tit for tat,
Okay.
it will project back to you. So you should take our public, actually, because one of the myths, many people think that environment management is by government. Look at that. So if a person has a mentality, and attitudes is one of the major problems in waste management, the attitudes of many people about solid waste management. Because if I think that it's government to take caution of solid waste, I will just merely dump. The government will know. The government will know. But at the end of the time, as I told you, it will come back to your pocket. Because this local government will have to renovate that trench. Look at that. So I think in all, everyone should take an extra caution. Everyone should be conscious of his or her environment. Because if the environment is not safe, I'm also not safe. Because I'm part of the environment.
You know, like you say that we should be patriots, we keep on accusing people, even over our own mistakes. So someone dumps waste into a drench. When it blocks and water floods into your house, you start accusing authorities. This authority has done this, this authority has not done this, this authority has not done this, and all that. But I think this will be our last. About schools. we've talked about domestic use and what. How can schools manage waste? Because this is also another problem. And schools are doing what is happening in Chitezi and Dundu and elsewhere. So should we assume that at one point there will also be an outcry like what happened of recent?
You see,
and how can they manage their waste?
You see, schools, if they don't manage well waste, epidemics will arise from those waste disposal sites. Because, look, schools having many number of students, of individuals in their confinement. So if they don't do, outbreaks, diarrhea, cholera, dysentery, and other related diseases will come through. But what can they do?
Yes.
Many local governments, many authorities have instituted ordinances, have instituted bylaws that allow private companies to come and pick. Why shouldn't you come in contact with this private company to take out your waste? I think that is the major option they can go for, because they generate a lot of waste because of their popularity, right? And it has to be a mandate of the local government during inspection of the schools to ask them which private companies are collecting waste from them, such that we can build a bridged network of solid waste management in such institutions.
Don't throwing your rubbish in the corner of the school land and then burning it.
Not open burning, because I told you the consequences.
I think very many schools are carrying out open burning.
And as I've told you, this is a multi-dimension, it's a multifaceted way of life. Waste management cannot only be done by one institution. There has to be a coordination in the system of where things are running. Local government, the inspectorate, checking whether you actually moving well with the regulations of solid waste management in the community.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. What could be your closing remarks as we wind up this discussion?
As I wind up this show, one, I have to thank Family TV for having brought up this topic. It is too important. Yeah. Two, let us be patriots, because if the environment is not safe, I'm also not safe. You are also not safe. Your children, your mothers, your relatives are not safe. Let's take caution, not open burning, not to open dumping.
Thank you so much, Barnabas, and thank you so much to you, our viewer, who has been watching from where we started from up to now. I believe you've learned a lot, especially when it gets to waste management, because at the end of the day, if we do not waste, if you do not manage our waste in a sustainable way, then land never grows. So remember, every day land decreases because of the population, and the time will come when we do not have anywhere to dump our rubbish, if that is what we think is the sustainable way. So therefore, let us embark onto these other options that we can use, and perhaps we shall have an environment that all of us can be proud of. Adrian Austin Mukalazi is my name. I've worked with Brinko and Muhumza in transmission, and very many other people out there that do a lot of things to see that you have this show. And from the entire team, it's a good night. We meet again tomorrow.